Okay, share screen. All right, here we go. So the premise of this presentation was just to kind of explore some different options for providing user interface sort capabilities, the ability to give the user some kind of interface where they can choose how to sort, things like that, because, you know, let's face it, this dialogue is not very user-friendly when it comes to our users. First of all, depending on your field naming conventions and things like that, I would pretty much guarantee that 90% of our users would open this up and have no idea what to make of it. So the idea is to explore some different options for providing user selectable sort options and things like that. So I'm going to come at this from a very basic approach. I'm just going to kind of lay out the basics of what some of this stuff is built on, but I'll give you a sneak peek of what it eventually builds into. So for instance, here I've got a sort option, user selectable, so I can sort by status and then maybe by first name, click sort. So I have an interface where a user can choose and build their own sort right from here and then sort. And so, you know, very desirable kind of interface, really easy to use and simple to understand, and gives that user full functionality and capability to build their own sort. There's a couple of different caveats when it comes to building these kind of sorts. And really, first thing that to understand is this is built on calculation fields. So it's about the right solution for the right situation. Because when you get up to thousands of records and things like that, if you try to use a solution like this to do your sorting, it's going to be very slow, especially when you get hosted in a cloud environment and you're pulling it over WAN. Potentially, it can get really slow. So you have to really gauge and make the decision whether it's the right solution for that particular, right fit for that particular use case. So this first example basically gives you the ability to choose sort, but what it is lacking is sort order. So all of these sorts are in ascending order, and there is no way to choose or reverse it to descending. But a little bit more, you know, finagling, and we can actually come up with an interface like this where we can choose the sort, and we can also click it again, and it reverses the sort order. And this one, you click it the third time, it removes it from the selection. So my user can come in and decide I want to do by status and date, or status and date, but I want date to be descending. And so there's that user ability to pick and choose ascending or descending. And then bringing it even to a further level is where I've, that may not be working right. Let's see what's going on with that. So if I go status and resort it. Okay. So this is basically a user definable summary, sub-summary report. So the user in this case can go and decide what to group by. So if we wanted to group by status and then, well, let's do an example of, we can do year and then month and then status. And then if we hit sort, we've got our three groups. And then if they want to take out the month option, it brings it down to 2. And so it's just the ability to tailor a sub-summary report and build it. Something like this that's got this many different options for a sub-summary. I've built some reports with giving the user all kinds of different options for how to sort and sub and group and what to sort by and all that kind of stuff. I think one of them that I built had like 8 different options. I ended up writing it in a script with an if-else-if statement. And every variation of that selection was another else-if. And I think the biggest one that I did had 5,000 different else-if steps to basically create all of the different variations of the report that could be run. So in this case, it's basically the same thing, but it's done in basically just a very short script, and the only else if is, it's like 5 steps to determine how many of the fields are being populated and how to sort. And so we can create a sub-summary with all kinds of different options, and the user can just build
Summary in a window is a card window?
What's that?
Sub-summary in a window, does that mean it's a card window?
No, I'm not using a card window.
So how do you create a sub-summary that's not list view?
It is list view. I've just created it. That's just the way I've designed it. So basically, here's the list view.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, and I just kind of wrap it around, make it look. This is just kind of the way I like to design my interface. But yeah, it's a list view, and so we're using a few different fields here. This report is built on basically 10 different fields. So we've got the calculated fields to sort by, and then we've got the calculated fields on what to display. And the reason for that is because this is trying to figure out how to. What I've done is I've made the ability to, if I want to sort by month, for instance, normally to sort by month, you'd have to create a field in the table, like calculation field, that gets the month of the year so that you can sort by the month of the year. And that would be a number. But then you'd have to use another field to display, or you'd have to use some kind of calculation to display what month name you're sorting by. So in this case, what I've done is I'm building a, let's see which one it is. So I'm building a return separated global variable that tells me exactly what my sort is going to be. That one seems, oh, this is my master list. So this is what my options are. And then over on the other side, I take my field list and whatever I choose pulls from the master list. And if I put it back, it uses the master list to rebuild the field again. But the idea being that, so this is like the label on the button is month. The type of field that I'm going to be sorting by is number, or the month calculation is right in the variable. So my field actually has an evaluate, and then it grabs this value from this variable and it evaluates this statement here, and then this would be what displays. So this is the sort field evaluates this, and then the display field evaluates this. So that way it's sorting by the month number, but it's displaying the month name. So
any reason to not use JSON for that?
I'm not as versatile with JSON, so it's not something that I've worked with yet to be able to try and do that. So,
but good idea there, Taylor.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about how I can convert all this into JSON. So it's something that I plan on kind of tackling at some point. But for right now, this was just something that I had sitting around. And since we didn't have a presenter for today, I figured I'd throw something together to display how this all works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of go back to the basics on how this is built. And so what it all starts with is basically 2 fields. In this case, I'm going to be using a global key field, but later on when I developed it out and everything that I showed you is actually using a global variable rather than a global field. So the concept is basically the fact that you can take a calculated field. This is the calculation field down here, example 1. And all it's doing is I'm feeding a field name, and the calculation field is just getting that field value, and it's putting it in here, and then I can sort by it. So that's where the whole process starts, is that we have one field that we can pick and choose what we want to sort by, and we're always sorting by the same field. But there's a problem with this, because we can't just simply go with get field. Because when we're sorting that way, what happens when we choose a date and we sort? Well, date is not going to sort properly just by using get field and sorting, because the calculation is returning text. So it's not going to be able to sort the date because the date is not text. So what we need to do is we need to identify what type of field we're sorting by. So in this case, we're going to change this to let field equals and we're going to do type equals and where is it? Looking for get field type. What am I looking for here? Field type. File name is going to be the existing file, and then our field name is going to be our field.
See, now there's another undocumented thing. Existing file is just quote, quote.
Yeah, just a double quote. So now that I've got the type and I've got the field, and then we'll just go ahead and do the data equals get field. This needs to be fixed.
I'm going to say this is where the JSON would be able to determine that that was a date field.
Yeah.
Type.
Okay, so now I can come in here and I do case, oops. Type equals date, oops. Then we're going to make the date field into a sortable here. So we need to start with the year.
Now, if you had MBS installed, it would auto-complete your variables as you type.
I'm going to cheat just because whenever I try and write calculations while I'm doing a presentation, I always struggle with it. So I'm going to cheat. We're going to go in here and we're going to do this. So if it's a date, then we're going to convert that date into a number. And we're going to pad the month and the day with 0 to make sure that it's the same length. And so the result of that is, on example 2, if I hit date, now the date is represented here as a sortable text. Because it's the same length, then it sorts, basically it sorts in the number order, but it's sorting as text. So we've converted the date into something that can sort as text. Now, we also have the same problem up here. If we hit number, we get our number, but if we're sorting as text, as we can see, the numbers are not in the correct order. We get up to 20 and it goes to 2 rather than 20. So in the same respect, we've got to convert that number into something that's sortable in text, and that's what this is. So the way that's being done is actually through a couple of custom functions. It's a pair of custom functions that basically converts the number and pads it on both sides of the decimal point. It pads it by like 16 zeros, and makes it sortable as a text. But there's also a second function that accounts for negative numbers so that this will sort properly even if it's negative. So basically what we've done is we've converted the data into something that's sortable as text. So that's all fine and good. Now we can pick and choose whatever field we want to sort by, but who would do this when you could just do a single step button that says sort by this field? So this isn't very good on its own. It doesn't give me anything really to work with here, but it's just kind of the base foundation of this technique. So here's the next part of this technique is that we're going to do multiple fields. And this is something that, believe it or not, I didn't even realize. It's another one of those things that, been working in FileMaker this many years, and it never dawned on me that I can sort by a return separated field of data. So in other words, I can sort by multiple criteria with one field. And the way that works is, let's clear it. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my calculation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a return separated list of fields, and I'm going to use a while function, while calculation. To wrap that let statement into a while, so it does the same type conversion for each one of the values. So now I can do fruit, and I can do animal, and I can do date, and I can do number. And now when I sort, it's going to sort by all four of those criteria. And our sort value looks like this. Now, up until it wasn't very long ago, I think I was watching a video on Richard Carlson TV or whatever with Nick Hunter, and he was showing a similar sort technique. Up until then, I never thought of using one field for multiple sort options. My way of doing it would have always been multiple fields for multiple sort options. So yeah, so now we have this, and that's what this one is based on. This one right here. So I'm basically doing one sort field, and I'm able to choose multiple options, except my key is a global, but this is the same concept that this example is built on, is the multiple fields right here. But then we run into another limitation with this one, which is there's no possibility to sort in alternating directions. There's only this one field can only be sorted in one direction. So what if you wanted to be able to do ascending or descending? So then we're going to move on to the next sample. Oh, that is this sample. This is sample 3. Sample 4, now we are going to break it up into 4 different fields. Okay. So what's going to happen here is I've got this sort is sorting the first field by ascending, the second field descending, the third field ascending again, and the fourth field. So when I choose fruit the first time, it's going to sort ascending. But if I choose it a second time, it's now going to move it to the second field, and that's going to sort descending. And then if I wanted to add a second sort to that, I can add the second sort. And this is using basically a let function that's evaluating the positions and what data is in the key field and the positions, and it's allowing me to create that option. So I've got the first option, sort ascending, sort descending, second option, ascending, descending, and then it removes it on the third click. So that is what this example is based on. So I'm basically taking a bunch of different options. I can build my sort, and I can make them ascending or descending. Of course, third click removes it. So now this is utilizing 6 fields, though, because there's 2 fields for each option, one ascending and one descending. So now I'm sorting by 6 fields. So it starts to get that field count up there, which, it's one of the things that I don't particularly like, is to keep having more and more fields. But it creates a nice little user interface and something that might be the right fit for the right situation. Using this same technique, we can also use this technique to do a portal sort. So I want to grab my clear button. Oh, wait, that's why I don't have a clear button on there, because it's part of the portal sort. So now I can just sort by column headers. I can click on it, click it a second time. It reverses the order. Click it a third time, it removes it. Click it the first time, click another field, it adds it, reverses it, removes it, adds it back to the second position. So this gives, a nice versatile little sorting options for sorting a portal. So that's essentially, I'm still not sure why that's doing that. So that's the basics of how the technique is put together. And I just realized that basically took up, 20 minutes? And that's about as far as I'm going to get with it.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
I posted a quick and dirty way to get a sortable number out of a date. You
Yeah.
pass it either current date or the date field you've got, and it makes it a number that is exactly the number of digits you need to make it padded and everything, with zero if it's, month is
Yeah.
only one digit or day is one digit, but it makes it a number that is alphabetically, numerically, and chronologically correct for
Yeah.
sorting.
Essentially, that's exactly what this is doing. That's, it's a number that'll sort as either text or as a number.
Right, but you had to use the serial functions and a couple other, little tricks in there to pad it out, whereas this just automatically pads it doing it this way.
This is all I did with the date right there, is just,
Yeah.
that's all it took to convert the date into a sortable.
Doesn't get, if you take a date and do a get as number, it produces a numeric sequence number with the current date?
Yeah.
I guess,
It'd be like
Yep.
73,482 or something, whatever the current date is.
Right. Yeah, it does.
If it's in a date field, it will sort. But if it's in a text field, it won't sort. That's why he's
Right.
having to do, because it's a text field that he's doing
Right.
the sort on. So because he's got to take all his data, so it's got to be text. If it was a date field, it wouldn't be a problem. It's a number.
yeah. Get his number would probably sort with,
A
like
number field.
recent dates. But if you wanted to, if you had a database of dates going back to like
Before 1900.
250, that probably wouldn't, the numbers, it wouldn't be the same amount of digits, so it wouldn't sort.
Yeah, 1900 is the baseline, and it's different on Windows versus Mac. So
Yeah. But yeah, and then converting the number was the one that, and I can't take any credit for that. I basically put together this from manage custom functions.
so I'm not understanding how it sorts some things ascending and some descending from one structure. How does it make the determination?
Okay, well, in order to do the ascending and descending options, that's when we do have to break it up into multiple fields.
Okay.
So now we've got four. In this example, we've got 4 fields that we're sorting by. So
Yeah, I'm still thinking a multi-line key field is doing it. So now you break it up.
yeah.
Got it.
So if we look at the sort, we're basically looking at it's sorting by 4 different fields, and it's just alternating. So depending on which field the data is in will determine which direction it's going to sort. So that's why that's why it switches position from one field to the next when you click it again, because that second field is now the sorting in descending order.
You sort by all the fields, but it only works with the fields that have data in them.
Right. Yeah, because the
Yeah.
blank fields are all going to sort the same. So
Yeah. That's cool.
yeah. And then, in order to get it out to this level, took another set of fields, because the display, what I want displayed is not going to be the same as what I want to sort by. So.
You were talking about converting the date. There are a couple of really good date formatting custom functions that you can just throw a date at it and tell it you want YY and you're done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What happens if you typecast text as a number? Because it's
What happens?
Unless it's the same number of digits, it does not sort correctly.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
That's why I use this, because it's 4 digits for the date, 2 digits for the month, and 2 digits for the date, which ends up being chronologically correct.
Yeah. There's a variety of ways to get that number.
yeah,
You could even use the a SQL date conversion custom function.
Yeah.
Basically does the same thing.
yeah. It wasn't. I mean, wasn't a very difficult calculation right there to be able to
No, it's not.
pads
No.
the day and pads the month with a zero if it's a single digit.
Right. I got it off of the custom functions site. But there's a custom function that you just throw the date at it and then you just tell it you want YYYY as the format, and it takes care
Yeah.
of it. It does all the padding and stuff for you. It's just a custom function. It's a lot less typing.
Yep.
Earlier today, I've been rebuilding a file that I built 10 years ago. Actually, I don't know how long ago did Execute SQL come out? Because shortly after that, when when that first came out, doing things with SQL was all the rage, and everybody was figuring out ways to use SQL to do everything.
To bring your solutions to a halt.
Yeah. So I built a sort function that used SQL, and basically what it did is it created a SQL query to grab all the IDs and order them with SQL, and then the sort field would just look for what position is that record's ID in, and then it would sort by that field. So I'm trying to reconstruct it because I basically can't figure out how I built it yet. I've got to deconstruct my own creation to figure out how I built it. So I actually started that's what started it in this file here, trying to do another example of another way to sort, and I'm still deconstructing it. So I haven't figured out how I did it yet. So I've got to figure out how to ask myself from 8 years ago how I put this thing together.
Yeah, around my house, they say I've slept since then. They say I've slept since then.
Yeah.
Hey, check the waiting room. I think
Oh,
there's
yeah.
at
John
least,
Howell's coming in.
yeah.
Well, I guess that didn't amount to too much of a presentation, and it barely took up a half an hour. So
No, it was good. It kind of thinks that you think about how you can do dynamic sorting without that, using that dialogue, and then in the end you did to do the ascending and descending.
yeah,
But it still gets us to think about different ways to do that, and using the JSON to kind of pass stuff would also be kind of neat, where you
yeah,
could say, I want it to be a number, or I want it to be a date, and I want it to be sorting ascending or descending, or or default would be ascending, of course, but so
yeah.
so there's a lot of ways that you could make that set to be able to then reuse that JSON as your however you need to calculate the values out to sort.
Yeah.
Well, it was a revelation that you could use a multi-line field as a sort field.
Yeah, but it's all ascending.
Yeah. Yeah. So it has its limitations. And again,
Yeah.
Each step of the way and it was kind of funny because the way this evolved, this technique, as I built it, the way it evolved and came about was each step of the way, it was like, well, now I'm lacking this,
Yeah.
first I'm lacking, multiple options. And then it's like, well, what if invariably somebody's going to come along and want to be able to, reverse the sort order of one of the selections. So,
And it doesn't let you do any kind of custom valueless sort order, which is the only reason I really like to use the sort dialog anymore. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it gets us thinking. So it was a really good demo for that. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
Ron,
good
I'm
ideas
curious.
in there.
I like it too. I mean, this is really helpful. I'm
Hmm.
curious just on your portal sort, the little arrows that you've got up and down. What are you triggering? Are those hidden or are they a container field? How are you doing that?
It's a calculation and it's just a character. So this is like,
Oh,
Ah,
cool.
yes, there you go. Bingo. Well done.
so it's
See?
just using a calculation whether or not to display it or not. So,
Worth the price of admission there,
Yeah,
Ron.
right there. Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Oh, I used to do
I've
that in
done
a
this
separate
portal sort
field.
and it's way more complicated than yours. Yours is way better. Way,
Yeah,
way better.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And then I always like to build things so that they're easily portable. So like when you come into the actual button and everything, um,
You abstract it.
yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
I can basically come up here and change, the data field right here, and I could create the next button. So it's just,
Very cool.
and then the other thing, like I said, part of this whole thing, which, given the limited amount of time I had this weekend to kind of try and build this the best I could, I didn't get as far as being able to demonstrate the other, nice piece of this is the ability to add and subtract the options. You click an
Yeah.
option and it moves it over. You click it, it puts it back. So that's,
Yeah.
it basically,
You
I-
did say that you were moving it from global to global.
yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
so basically I've got a global, when I click this button, it's firing a script, and the script it's all in this one sort by script. And the first thing it does is it looks to see what layout it's on. And so I basically build these master lists based, like if it's layout ID 18 or 22, which are both contact form, then this is going to be the master list. And then it puts together the master list of fields that you can choose from.
Yeah. Very
And
cool.
then, so this is so portable. Like, if I want to put this in another file and drop it on another layout, or if I had another layout based on another table in this file, and I just wanted to quickly be able to add this to it, I basically can copy and paste this and then come up here and create a master list based on what layout ID it is, and this will work like immediately to
Yeah.
open up, and I'll have my options, whatever I want my options to be. So
You did that with a value list too, and use value list items to get there.
well, the way this is building this master list, there's a different criteria. So it's,
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying if you had I see what you're saying. Okay.
yeah. So what's going on here is that my sort field is substituting the double pipes for carriage returns, and then grabbing value 1 as the field label, value 2 is the type, value 3 is the sortable data, and then value 4 would be the display for like the sub-summary reports. So,
Cool.
and and the way it's written also is that I can put a calculation in here. So, so this right here is carrying a calculation to the field, and then the field is evaluating it. So the sort field is not using get field, it's using evaluate. So I can actually, in the sort criteria, see, it's evaluating the calculation. So the calculation may just be a field name. If I feed this a field name, it's just going to get the field data. But if I feed it a calculation, like give me the month name of this date, well, now I can display January, February, March, April, or whatever the case may be. So I can feed it a calculation and really tailor what my experience is, for instance, on this one. So if I do, month is already in there. So when I'm sorting by month on this one, I'm displaying June, but I'm sorting by the month number. So June is in the calculated display field, but 7 or 6 is in the calculated sort field. So, and that's all based on this master list that I built.
Yeah, while we're there, how are you getting a sub summary, or is that just the calculation that's showing up?
What's the question?
Are you using the list view sub summary sort by option, and how are you getting that set up?
And so yeah, this is basically a sub summary report. And
Uh-huh.
the sub summaries are by the calculation fields 1 through 5.
Okay,
And so this is sub summary one sorted by sort one,
gotcha,
1 through 5. And then in the script, well, I have a sort script. This is the way I do my sorts too. I put all my sorts in one script and I just do it based on if the layout table name is contact, then sort it this way.
Yeah,
In this case,
cool.
I also look, so this is my sub summary report here. So it is doing an if else. So that way, if only one field is populated, it's not going to
Yeah.
sort by all 5 fields.
Yeah,
So that's breaking it down that way. And then one other criteria that I've added to this sub summary is whether or not you want to show the details or not. So that's
Yeah.
another
cool.
option. So yeah, so you can basically build your sort however you want to build it. I mean, the options are the variations are pretty much limitless. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah,
so it's really nice. But again, this solution, once you put it in the cloud and you get up to, a couple thousand records and stuff like that, this is going to go very slow in FileMaker. But on the flip side, in WebDirect, it's still super fast. So
because it's performed script on server, or
just because the sorting is done on the server.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's just the way WebDirect works. So when you
Yeah.
sort in WebDirect, it does the sorting on the server and returns the result.
Well, that's what I
Well,
wondered, if your script could be performed script on server and get your results back. If that
Yeah, I
would
don't know. I
speed
don't know
it
if that
up.
would increase the
Yeah.
sort speed and everything when it comes to larger
Yeah.
record sets and stuff.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that I think is really kind of a drawback to FileMaker, is that when it comes to sorting, when you get
Mhm.
into some sorting by related records and stuff like that, it's not very efficient.
No.
So yeah, that gets kind of frustrating because when you get to some points where you start sorting and build a great sort solution and everything, and then it gets up to a couple thousand records and you're like, oh crap. So
which is like a lot of things in FileMaker.
yeah. Anyway, that's all I got so far in this one. Eventually I'm hoping to build it into a video blog or whatever, where I can actually expand on how to get all the way to this point. So
Well, I joined late, but I'll ask the question. Are you going to share this?
yeah, I do have a downloadable link if you'd like it.
I sure would. It's well done, Ron. It's really well done.
Oh, thanks. So
And if you want to watch the rest of the video, it'll be posted on YouTube,
yeah,
on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, right. But some of it's sort of over my head. Like, how'd you do that again? I want to look at it again.
yeah. So there it is. And just fun fact, when you, oops, actually that might not work because oh yeah, that may not work. It's got a space that doesn't belong in there.
Well, I actually got to your form that's asked for my name and so forth.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, now that I think of it, that's just to display the name of the file, which isn't important. So yeah, the fun fact, when you're downloading this, you're filling in that form, it's actually creating a record in my FileMaker database, and then it'll send you an email where it's pulling the file right from my database and sending it to you. So this kind of goes to that, eating your own dog food kind of stuff. All right. Well, I'm gonna close the share, and guess we'll go back to open discussion if anybody has anything they want to talk about, or if anybody's got any neat tricks or anything they want to show. It's kind of open time. So